to be more lucid, I guess.
To be more lucid, yeah. I mean, if we want to do lucid dreaming, this sort of practice can help us to move in that direction, the mindfulness, you know. So that's one thing. But I think also with this sort of practice, we're not sort of suppressing. We're just watching. And I think because of that, we're not doing this so much, which I think can also reflect in the dreams. A lot of things can come up in the dreams.
Sorry, I was writing when you...
Yeah, we're not, because in this meditation, normally we're doing this, we're sort of holding things down, whereas in this practice, we're just letting things come up. And I think due to that as well, then in the dreams we can have all sorts of very vivid things appearing.
Oh, nothing?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question here from
Okay.
the beginning of the class.
I have a question about the sliding scale.
Sliding scale, yeah.
Like at the end of the scale is watching the mind, and there the thoughts, the emotions are manifesting vividly,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm taking myself into the middle and is resting in stillness. So I was wondering if the vivid views that we're manifesting like a real big time on that side, they're like just at the beginning, like if it's coming from the horizon, so it's a little bit coming, and then I notice that, and then another thing's coming already. Like it's not manifesting as big as the right side of the scale.
Right.
I'm dedicating before that. I'm just asking, is this the right direction to understand it
Sure.
in the practice?
Yeah. This stillness in motion is really to specifically, rest in stillness while observing the movements of the mind is particularly helpful for us in the beginning stages because it sort of gives us a little bit of an anchor point. But probably what you're going to find is you're sort of like doing this, stillness, motion, stillness, motion, stillness, motion.
Adjusting.
Well, no, just flipping backwards and forwards a little bit. But even here, you start to be able to do that at the same time. So you'll find that once you really get into it, the vividness will be like if you're just observing the thoughts and emotions. Is that the question? No.
I'm not sure. No.
What was the question then?
If towards the middle of the scale,
Right.
should the thoughts manifest themselves like at the right side?
Yes. Yes.
Not about.
As a beginner, probably no, because we're not good at stillness and motion yet. But that's what I was trying to say, is that when we get good at it, the vividness will be exactly the same there as if you're just observing the thoughts.
This was the question because you quoted somebody that said, watch them from far.
Yeah, but that's watching from afar. Both is watching from afar. Okay. Watching from afar doesn't mean go down that scale.
Yeah.
Watching from afar means don't get caught up. So maybe the terminology there is a bit misleading. Yeah.
When you say to breathe, when you breathe in the noise from here,
breathing in the
from
nostrils.
the upper lips,
Yeah.
you open the mind. You say you open all the face. You
Relax the face. Relax the face. Yeah.
Relax the face.
Then.
Can we open other things in the body?
Okay. Actually, there's one thing I wanted to, just now that you've mentioned that, it reminded me of something. In this practice of resting in awareness, observing the mind or stillness in motion, if you prefer, you can breathe through your mouth. Because sometimes people find that breathing through the nose is a little bit of resistance and actually gets a bit distracting with the movement. So in any of these mind practices, if you want, you can just breathe through the mouth. Of course, if you're focusing on the nostrils breath practice, then you need to breathe through the nostrils. But in these practices now, the observing the mind, resting in awareness, stillness, motion, if you prefer, you can breathe through the mouth.
No, I mean, can I bring
Yeah,
a feeling that I breathe from the legs, from the hands,
So,
to
Sensation.
yeah, so here we're more moving into body practice of being more aware of the body, and particularly in terms of being aware of subtle energies in the body. That's only really something in Tibetan Buddhism that is really talked about in the sort of Tantra or Vajrayana level of
why?
practice.
Also in mindfulness you can do it.
Yeah, but then you're doing it at a very simple level of simply noticing sensations in the body. That's okay.
And to bring a smile.
Smile is always good.
It's good
Smile is always good.
like this you can build some receptor in your body.
Some
Receptors.
receptors.
Your brain.
חיישנים,
Yeah,
חיישנים.
receptors in your brain.
Yeah, what's the question?
If
Well,
you
you can
build,
build them up.
we need to build the receptor in the body.
Build them. What do you mean by build them?
To let
Become
it
a-
walk.
Increased sensitivity.
לא, לתת לו-
Yeah, to become more aware of the body. Is that the question?
הגוף יחוץ את הדברים.
To become more aware of the body.
Yeah.
Great, very good, very good. We need to do that, particularly in our modern society. We've lost complete touch with our body. We're all in the conceptual mind. Many of us in the modern world, we've lost touch with our body. So it's always very good to go back into the body and get in tune with our body, because the body can tell us a lot of things. So very good. Your last question, then we're going to do practice.
It's about the tongue line practice.
Right, sure.
With the breathing, when we were doing breathing in the black snake and breathing out white light,
Yeah.
I found myself regulating my breathing quite a lot. So to take deep breaths and exhale, is that like are
Yeah,
we supposed to breathe normally, or is it?
I mean, of course, breathing normally is the best, but I think in this practice, the Tong Len, if you find it more effective that if you have a little bit of a deeper breath in and deeper breath out, that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't do any extreme breathing, you know, but yeah, I think doing a little bit of a longer, deeper breathing in and out can be, if it helps to really to get in the practice, I think that's completely okay. Right, let's do another practice. So we'll go back into the stillness in motion practice. So again, remember, if you're getting caught up in appearances, a little bit more emphasis on stillness. And also, again, paying particular attention to any emotions, reactions, anything going on, because often they sort of get a little bit missed. So what I'm not saying is only pay attention to emotions, but just in particular pay close attention to those, because they often get missed. So maybe we can switch this light off again. And we'll do a 20-minute practice. We begin by preparing the body. allowing the breathing to flow naturally and effortlessly. And allowing the mind to come to rest in the present moment. And simply becoming aware of the rhythm of the breath. Allowing the eyes to be at least partially open. Resting your gaze in the space in front of you. And again, we'll begin by establishing a basis in stillness. So simply releasing all appearances and allowing the mind to come to rest. Resting in awareness itself, knowing that you're aware. Now, whilst resting in that stillness, start to become aware of the movements of your mind. Observing thoughts, emotions, and other mental events as they arise and pass. just a couple of points I'd like to mention actually about tomorrow, and then I think Yael wants to say a few words as well. Tomorrow, well actually for the next 2 days, in the Shamatha practice, you get to choose whatever object you want to focus on. So of course in this retreat we've been working with 3 objects, the breath, and there we had a number of variations, the full body, the rhythm, abdomen, nostrils, the mind, observing the